All right, guys, so part 2 of the video. Welcome back. Here's the instructional part of the video where I'm actually going to be teaching you. So take a moment if you need to. You can pause this video, go ahead and take out your notes. If your Cornell notes are all filled up already, just take out a separate sheet of paper and we're going to go ahead and add to this, all right? So just put today's date on there, 1/24. Okay, the title of today's notes is just, we're talking about epigenetics here and kind of just recapping of what we talked about this past week so far. All right, so go ahead and take a moment to go ahead and do that. Take out a piece of paper and we'll get started in just a moment. If you need to know what the objective is of today's lesson, it's on the whiteboard right in front of you. So take a look at the whiteboard. I've changed the objective, so go ahead and you can write the objective down. All right. And we are still working on the same essential question. So it's the same essential question. We just changed the objective. All right. So I've changed the objective. You can write that down on your notes. So you can pause the video here if you need to, and we'll continue. All right. So let's take a look at this together. Let me start this presentation here for you. All right. Let's see. All right, so here we go. We got Stephen Curry here. He's a basketball player for the Warriors, right? So what is this, or what does he have to do with epigenetics? Well, we're going to go ahead and go right into this and take a look at this this phenomenon that we see here. All right, so Stephen Curry is an amazing three-point shooter. I think we would all agree on that, right? That if you've ever seen him play, he's a pretty amazing three-point shooter. If you've never seen him play, well, here, let me show you this video of him real quick. And here you go.
Multiple guys make great decisions once they switch, knowing who they're guarding. Curry fires away, and hits the three. Behind the back and a crossover against Durant. Second quarter, 40-30. First meeting between the two. Golden State scored 73. As Curry nails the three-point.
So there you go, right? Amazing three-point shooter. I think we can all agree on that, especially if you have watched him before. All right, so now the question here says, defend your answer using your understanding of genetics. And actually, I'm a little ahead here. There we go. Kind of went a little bit far on there. So could we say, all right, based off of what we know, all right, and what we've seen about Stephen Curry, could we say that he has passed down his ability to shoot three-pointers to his daughter Riley? So I don't know if you can see this. This is a question I'm looking at right here. All right. Could we say that he has passed down his ability, or he could pass down his ability through his genes to his daughter Riley? And there's a picture of his wife and his daughter Riley there. Is that possible? So just think about it for a moment. All right. So the next question says, I'm not sure if you can see the question, but it says, defend your answer using your understanding of genetics. So if you think, yeah, he could pass down this ability to shoot three-pointers to his daughter Riley, if you said yes, then defend it. Or what are some reasons why you think that, based off of what you know already about genetics? If you said no, see if you can defend your answer as well as to why not. Why can't Stephen Curry pass down his three-pointer shooting abilities to his daughter Riley? So if you want to pause the video here, you can pause it as you're writing down your responses to that question. All right, so how do we explain this? Or how do we explain traits that that are, how do I want to say it, that are expressed and that can be expressed later on in life? Okay. Well, I briefly talked about this a couple weeks ago, this idea of epigenetic inheritance. So go ahead and write that word down on your notes, epigenetic inheritance. Take some time to write that down, epigenetic inheritance. And so the definition for it is actually on here as well. And I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. You can pause the video as we go along, to take some time to write this down. But the definition for epigenetic inheritance is this: it is the study, okay? It's the study of changes in organisms caused by modification of gene expression, okay, modification of gene expression rather than alteration of the genetic code. So what the heck does that mean? Okay, some pretty complicated words there just to describe epigenetic inheritance. Okay, so the best way for me to explain this is to use an example. So I'm going to go to the next slide. If you need to pause, you can pause it here. I'm going to go to the next slide. And here is a great example of epigenetics taking place. Okay, so you all know what's happening here, right? Butterfly, right, as it develops, goes from a caterpillar into a cocoon, right, and it forms into a butterfly, right? We call this process metamorphosis, right? Change is occurring. So this is the same organism. It's not that it's a different organism, okay? It's the same organism that has gone through different stages in its life. And this is due through epigenetic regulation, okay? So the caterpillar has the same exact genes as when it's in its cocoon and when it's a butterfly. So if you notice here, okay, you can see here where the mouse is at, that these are the same genes, okay? But you can also see the different parts that are highlighted, okay? You see that? They're highlighted during different stages of development, okay? So here, this part of the DNA is highlighted, and then when it's in the cocoon stage, here's another part of the DNA that's highlighted, and then when it becomes a butterfly, another part of the DNA is highlighted. So this explains epigenetics. Okay, this was the reason why when I gave you the example last week and I talked about epigenetics of that individual that was trying to they were trying to lose weight, right? And they put them on a diet plan, and there was kale that was involved in the diet, right? And remember, I told you that kale is one of those superfoods out there that help with expressing certain things. And so this individual, when they were eating kale, it actually caused them to gain weight instead of lose weight. And this is due to epigenetics. So the food is causing part of the DNA to be expressed and other parts of the DNA not to be expressed. All right, so this is epigenetics. All right, epigenetics for you. Here's a short video on what is epigenetics, and we'll play it for you real quick.
Here's a conundrum. Identical twins originate from the same DNA, so how can they turn out so different, even in traits that have a significant genetic component? For instance, why might one twin get heart disease at 55 while her sister runs marathons in perfect health? Nature versus nurture has a lot to do with it, but a deeper related answer can be found within something called epigenetics. That's the study of how DNA interacts with a multitude of smaller molecules found within cells, which can activate and deactivate genes. If you think of DNA as a recipe book, those molecules are largely what determine what gets cooked when. They aren't making any conscious choices themselves. Rather, their presence and concentration within cells makes the difference. So how does that work? Genes in DNA are expressed when they're read and transcribed into RNA, which is translated into proteins by structures called ribosomes. And proteins are much of what determines a cell's characteristics and function. Epigenetic changes can boost or interfere with the transcription of specific genes. The most common way interference happens is that DNA, or the proteins it's wrapped around, gets labeled with small chemical tags. The set of all of the chemical tags that are attached to the genome of a given cell is called the epigenome. Some of these, like a methyl group, inhibit gene expression by derailing the cellular transcription machinery or causing the DNA to coil more tightly, making it inaccessible. The gene is still there, but it's silent. Boosting transcription is essentially the opposite. Some chemical tags will unwind the DNA, making it easier to transcribe. which ramps up production of the associated protein. Epigenetic changes can survive cell division, which means that they could affect an organism for its entire life. Sometimes that's a good thing. Epigenetic changes are part of normal development. The cells in an embryo start with one master genome. As the cells divide, some genes are activated and others inhibited. Over time, through this epigenetic reprogramming, some cells develop into heart cells and others into liver cells. Each of the approximately 200 cell types in your body has essentially the same genome, but its own distinct epigenome.
Okay,
The
so
epigenome.
all right, so that's kind of the idea. I'm running out of time here on this video, but so we also have stem cells that are involved in this process, but it's throughout a living organism's lifetime that parts of the DNA will be expressed while others are not. So I will go into more detail about this on Monday when I come back, but this is just kind of the idea here, all right? So we're going to move on to the next slide. So remember these twins? We talked about them last week. So what would explain, and we talked about this when we read the article, what would explain how these are twins that were from the same egg, remember, from the same egg, same sperm, right? But they look totally different. And this is due to epigenetics, right? Some type of environmental factor, right, has caused part of one of the twins' DNA to express certain characteristics and certain traits, while the other express other characteristics and other traits, right? So it's quite interesting just to think about here, all right? So let's move on. So now how can you explain, or can you explain how these twins are so different? Just take a moment, pause the video here, write down what you think, or can you explain how these twins are so different. I've kind of done that for you already in the last slide. All right, this next part here is on eugenics. We're actually going to stop here for this video, and I'll move on and talk about today's assignment for you. But eugenics is something it's been around science for some time now, and I really kind of want to go into this when I come back on Monday. So I'm guessing you probably have a lot of questions about this, but I'll just read it for you real quick. Well, eugenics is a science of improving a human population by controlled breeding to increase the occurrence of desirable heritable characteristics, developed largely by an individual by the name of Francis Galton as a method of what he thought was improving the human race. This fell into great disfavor only after the perversion of its doctrine by of course, the Nazis. And so quite an interesting idea here that's not in any way, shape, or form good at all right? So just kind of want to introduce this, and we'll talk about it when I come back on Monday. So this is the end for the video as far as what I wanted to give you for information for today. The last video for today that they'll play is just going over the assignment, all right? So we're done with the notes part. We'll continue talking about this when I return on Monday, all right? See you in the next video.